彼の花のあなただから私なんて釣り合うわけないって思うけどだけど手放したくないのですシンデレラストーリーは
Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another anime series review, and for this anime series review I'll be covering My Happy Marriage Season 1, and in this particular season we have 12 episodes, and this series is actually able to be found on Netflix, plus you might be able to find other ways to find it, and also to check it out for yourself. Now, this is a story that centers around the character of Mio, and we also learn of the family that she has been brought up into, but also the new family that she is about to enter, and some of the things that they do to sort of like help her character. I'll now move into covering the episodes, to which I'll give the episode title in relation to each episode, as well as the synopsis, and also a bit of a small but brief talk about each episode. So starting off with episode 1, it's called The Meeting. Despised by her grandmother, her stepmother and sister, her sister's name being Kaya, and you definitely get to see that the sister is a bit of a spoiled brat of sorts, but you do learn a little bit later as to how she becomes the spoiled brat in some of the upcoming episodes. And in this, it also relates to spiritual abilities to which the characters have in the series. Just one character's spiritual ability could be completely different to someone else's. And Mio is treated like a servant in her own home when she should be treated like a loved daughter, when in fact that doesn't completely happen. And one day her father calls her in to discuss her future, to which we actually learn in this particular story that she also has a friend by the name of Koji, basically her best friend. And at the time you could sort of see that this childhood friend is sort of like who she was expecting to marry, but due to the situation and circumstances, that ends up getting changed completely, because he's the only person who actually felt like she was worth something in her own life. So with that, we move into episode 2, and it's called About My Husband to Be, to which this then focuses on Mio marrying the person, which will lead to Mio later on in the series marrying the character of Kyoka. It's just not in this season that it happens, but we get to see basically the beginnings of their relationship. And determined to be of use, Mio wakes up early and prepares a breakfast, but Kyoko accuses her of trying to poison him and refuses to take a bite. In this particular episode, we see that she is sort of like going out of her own way to, I guess, get her husband's approval in regards to things that she does, and we do get to see and understand that he does misunderstand her approach because of how she was brought up in the household that she was brought up in, being a Samurai household. And we will get to cover a little bit more of that as he will delve into her past. So moving into episode 3, it's called Our First Date. While Kyoko takes Mio out to town, he quickly notices that she behaves very different from other wealthy daughters that he's encountered, like in the country of Japan and in the particular story, where others have sort of like had their own agenda. She's like very apologetic, and he notices that kind of a lot, but he doesn't quite understand as to why she does that a lot. And it then leads him to begin to probe into some more in regards to the Samori household, and also what happens or what happened with Mio herself in growing up in the environment that she was in. Episode 4 is called The Gift. To surprise Kyoka with a handmade gift, Mio goes into town to shop for some material. Meanwhile, Kyoko pays Mio's parents a visit, and this is where we actually get to learn a little bit more with their encounter. They personally believe that she had no sort of like spiritual abilities or supernatural abilities within the story, but we do begin to see little, what's the word I'm looking for? Little ripples in connection to her own actually spiritual ability. But that will take place in the next episode. But we also learned that they believed sort of like Kaya to be the more superior over Mio in this particular episode, and that's why they sort of like gave her up to Kyoka, thinking that, okay, it might be better to hand her over to him, but still have some sense of nobility. Jumping into episode 5, which is called Ripples. Engulfed with jealousy, Kaya tries to thwart Mio's engagement to Kyoka, and Mio leaves the house and forgets to bring her good luck charm that Kyoka gave her. Now, we learn in this story that Kyoka has given her a good luck charm, which was given towards the end of the last episode, and it's sort of like done as a way of a protection sort of talisman, so she doesn't like have any issues or troubles when she goes out of town. But it's also used as a way to sort of like track her as well, and done so Kyoka or Kyoka can also protect her. And you do get the sense that he does actually want to care a lot about Mio in the story. Moving into episode 6, we have Determination and Thunder. Mio wakes up to her sister and stepmother. So in the process, we have learned that she has been kidnapped by her sister, and she is now at the Saimori household, to which now it's up to Kyoko Kudo to go and save her, because this is at a time and place to which she has now become vulnerable, and due to her vulnerability, she has sort of like no way to escape, but only for her husband to come and save her. Really good, but whilst this is happening, we still have Kaya being a ultimate bitch of a sister. It's the only way to put it bluntly. Still thinking that she's still more superior, and now she wants to be married to Kyoka Kudo instead of having Mio marry him. And you can certainly see the jealousy that stems from that. So a little bit more with the synopsis, together with Koji. So Koji, who is her childhood friend, he goes to Kyoka and they arrive at the Saimori home. So he plays a big part as well in the saving of Mio. So basically her best friend to what will be her best husband in the future work together to end up saving her. And of course the house is left in quite a bit of a mess after the encounters. Moving into episode 7, it's called A Glamorous Lady of Summer. Kyoka accompanies Mio to the remains of the Saimori home at her request. So in this, we do get to see him return to the Saimori household, but whilst they're there, she ends up going to a place to which a old sakura tree was, and that sakura tree has sentimental value in connection to her, as it was something that her mother planted there, and whilst that had been planted there, she ends up laying her hands on it, and we get to see somewhat the beginning of a spiritual sort of event that takes place in regards to her powers. And even though it disintegrates, we have her powers starting to play a beginning in manifestation, but not in sort of like full manifestation. So moving into episode 8, which is called Nightmares and Ominous Shadows, as Hazuki and Mio grow closer. So Hazuki is, if I remember correctly, is Kyoka's sister. She's sort of like helping her to become more ladylike, but also wearing, I guess, more Western attire, but still to be a good wife to her husband to be, and also to help find her own autonomy in what she does. And it's really nice as that is occurring as she's growing more with the family members as well as with her husband. Kyoka tries to get to the bottom of Mio's relentless nightmare, so he investigates a little bit, or he tries to investigate more as to why she's having these nightmares, even though he has a protective barrier over the house. He's not too sure if someone has sort of like infiltrated the barrier or if it's actually something that's coming from Mio. Moving into episode 9, it's called Drowning in Dreams. Through this, though distressed by her nightmares, Mio keeps pushing herself to be the supportive wife. Then Arata Saruki, who we learn a little bit later on, that he is actually her cousin in relation to the Usuba household, comes to speak to her while away. He does give a little bit of advice, but it's not until the next couple of episodes that we do actually learn that he is her cousin. So moving into episode 10, to which we do actually find out that Arata is actually her cousin, and it's called Summer Cherry Blossoms, and that's sort of like how it's left. Arata reveals his true identity and introduces Mio to the grandfather she never knew, to which they actually learn a little bit more about her powers and actually how they work, to which their powers consist of like Dream Sight. And what Dream Sight does is, or how Dream Sight works within the story, as I like its explanation within the anime, is that she's able to enter people's dreams to help free them from what might be like a spiritual attack that's happening to them. And another thing I haven't brought up is that some of the work that Kyoka does, he's sort of like a commander or general that also ends up tackling things called grotesques. I think that's the best way to put it instead of how they say it. So they go up against grotesques that are like a spiritual form of being that also attack living people. And this mostly, this can occur throughout the day, but also throughout the night. So moving a little bit more, they claim that they can cure her nightmares, but on one condition. Now, one of the conditions that Kyoka is left with is that he leaves Mio to be raised in the Usuba household, to which she's actually a part of that family line. And with that, they end up having a somewhat duel of sorts, and this duel sort of like leads to the decision as to where she is actually stays for these next couple of episodes until things sort of like change around that situation. So after the duel, of course, she ends up staying at the Asuba household, but that's not without consequences that lead to what happens next. So jumping into episode 11, which is called My Mother's Legacy, to which we have Yoshiro Usuba, so basically her grandfather, finally comes to share about Mio's mother and how she also came to marry into the Saimori family, and where she also made the decision to also seal off her daughter's power just so it wouldn't be used for the wrong reasons. And you can certainly see that the mother did become a little bit unsure as to how the Saimori household was going to take advantage of her abilities, especially when it came to Mio. And we see that her mother actually played an important part in sealing it. And also in this episode, due to it being sealed, it then becomes unsealed once again, so she is now able to use this power, but in the process, she's still very much a novice, but on her way to slowly becoming more advanced or intermediate with her supernatural ability. But due to some unforeseen circumstances at the end of this episode, which come into the next episode, and of course we have Arata, her cousin, helping her out in this, who also decides to help get the grandfather to sort of like side with her decision to go and help her husband to be Kyoka, to which episode 12 is called Light in the Darkness. And I'm really happy that I've finally got around to finishing it. To which Mio's powers are everyone's last hope of waking Kyoka. So due to what happened with Kyoko and the Grotesques, he's been brought back, but he's unconscious, and we do see him in his unconscious state. But before she can rescue him, she must face the shadow of her past, to which in the process, we do have Mio sort of like going into her past whilst in her dream. So before she enters into where her husband is, sort of like in the dream state that he's caught up with supernaturally, she must confront her own fears. And whilst we get to see her confronting her own fears, we do learn that whilst she was in the Saimori household, that one of the things that she sort of lacked was actually her self-worth. And her self-worth actually plays a really big part in her accepting her own self-worth, because there were people who took her in and helped her to begin to see her own self-worth, even though she did not notice it at the time. She also basically gets some peace within herself and is then able to move into saving her husband to be Kyoka. Now, jumping right into the next thing, and that is the area of the afterthoughts. I must admit, this is one story that I was a bit unsure as to how the story would go and how it would actually center on the characters. Now, is Mio a Mary Sue? No way at all. the times that she apologizes in this series, she's like apologizing for a lot of things, and some things that she doesn't really need to apologize for, because you can get to see and understand that while she was brought up in the Saimori household environment, is that she was expected to do a lot of things. She practically became, even though she is like the oldest sister, she is treated like a lowly servant. And because the younger sister, like the one born after her, through a separate wife, of course, and we learned that she's got spirit sight, and that's because she's sort of like being put up on the pedestal, and through that, her own father has basically pushed away Mio and her own worth, but in regards to that, at least she does get to see some growth and understand that she does have worth. Even though it might not be with her own family, she does have it with others. Moving into the next thing, and that is the area of the rating. So first things first, the main characters. I'd have to say that the main characters in this were mainly Mio and also, I guess, Koji and Kyoka. Even though Koji's presence was very limited, especially around Mio, I did enjoy how he played a part in the way that she was saved. Of course, we have Kyoko Kudo, to which Kudo, even though we get to see him sort of like misunderstand her character, misunderstand Mio's character, at least he's not lame in regards to, he's not scared to look into the truth. And one of the things that we do get to see this character do is actually go out of his way to even research into family timelines, to which in the story he does actually seem to research and look into the family line or heritage of Mio, and learning that she's of the Yasuba family. And then there's finally Mio herself, to which this character does grow quite a bit. And through the many times that she apologizes throughout the story, I think some of the best things that have sort of happened in this story happened because of sort of like the supporting cast. And yes, even though the husband-to-be does play a little bit in regards to the supporting cast, but also the main cast, I did enjoy her growth throughout the story. So for the main characters, I give an 8.5 out of 10. Next is the supporting characters, to which we have Kaya, I guess members of her family, and also members of other families, as well as one of the royals that are present, royals and nobles that are in this particular environment and kingdom of sorts. With some of their work, you could definitely see that they too were either hungry to get a hold of the Usuba family bloodline to use it for their own means and purposes, whilst there were some members, including like Arata, does come in as a supporting character, even though he is the cousin of the supporting character. He too, at one time wanted to support the Usuba family agenda to sort of like keep things in the family, until he realized that, okay, maybe it might not be a wise idea. So he decides to support his own cousin. And again, I give this an 8 out of 10 for the supporting characters. Next area I want to move into is the area of the animation. The animation I found was quite consistent, to which I give an 8 out of 10. Next is the area of the soundtrack, an 8 out of 10. And last but not least, the area of the story, to which I give an 8.5 out of 10. I really would like to see the second season of this. Until then, let's keep it colorful and have yourself an awesome day.
流れの花のあなただから私なんて釣り合うわけないって思うけどだけど手放したくないのですシンデレラストーリーは本当にありますかこの幸せ信じていいですか好きでいてもいいですか歌方の夢でもあなたに出会うまでは諦めてただ目を閉じていた惹かれて初めて望んでしまったのあなたとの幸せをなんだよ特別なんだよだから手放したくないのです次の会う約束だってすぐに決めたいし辛い時は頼ってほしいし後悔はしたくない歌方の夢でもただ目を閉じていた惹かれて初めて望んでしまったのあなたとの幸せをいつ消えても失う